Hello, my name is Sophia and welcome to my channel. I am a secondary school science teacher based in London in the UK, and this is a space where we get to share lots of advice and information to anyone that is interested in teaching and education, especially for teachers or newer teachers or people who want to become teachers. So if you're new here, then welcome. And if you are coming back, thank you so much for returning. I hope that you're finding these videos really useful. So please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and switch on your notifications so that you don't miss a video, and also give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy the content so that other people can reach it too. Okay, so this week I have a bonus video for you. We're going to be talking about making effective seating plans. And I think this is particularly timely for this time of the year because as you get new classes and new students, you will be making lots and lots of different seating plans. So I thought to just put together a video sharing my top tips of how I personally go about making a seating plan, from classes that I don't know that well to perhaps classes that I've taught in previous years and I need to make a few tweaks because I might have some new students or they have grown up and their behaviour or attitude to learning is slightly different. So I just want to share all of those top tips with you in this video, and I hope that you find it really useful. One disclaimer that I do have is that seating plans will never ever be perfect. They are meant to be continuously tweaked and adapted as you go on the learning journey with your students. As time passes by, they become molded to you and they also become slightly more used to things, and I think it's always nice to freshen the seating plans up throughout the year so that you get to encourage students to work with different kids and do different types of tasks and be in a different space in the room, because that might just be the fresh start that they need. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so let me share with you my thought process behind how I make the seating plans for my different classes. And often I will incorporate several or one or two of each of these strategies. So the first go-to when I don't know a class is to seat them alphabetically. Now your thought process behind why that might be the case is it just helps you keep track of who is who as you're getting to know the class. So often you can do this by first name or by last name. I personally prefer to do it by first name just because it helps me keep track of who's who and where they are seated in the class. So that is an initial seating plan go-to. Another one is gender. And this one can be very hit and miss because the way that students interact varies so much depending on whether they are a boy or a girl. And obviously some students don't fall into these classic stereotypes, and I think you want to just bear that in mind. So you can sit two boys next to each other and two girls next to each other and interval them, or you can do the classic boy girl, boy girl, boy girl. I would just highly recommend that you monitor interactions below the table and interactions obviously between them. Now, question is, do you want to be random in the way you make these seating plans? Absolutely not. One of the things you could do instead is do it by ability or outcome. So obviously with ability and outcome, this is to do mostly with data and performance and ability of students, their profile. Here in the UK we say LPAs, MPAs and HPAs. That just means low performance, middle performance and high performance. What it essentially means is the outcome of the students by grade. So the question here really is, do you mix students with different grades and different abilities together, or do you keep them sat next to each other? So you want to be thinking constantly about what is the best for students in order for them to achieve their predicted grade. Now, one of the things I'm very skeptical in terms of making these decisions is how truthful is that data. If we're receiving a student and we're saying that that student is an LPA and their outcome grade is a grade 4, does that mean that that student could not achieve a grade 6? So bear that in mind all the time. So another strategy can be flexible classroom management. So here you're thinking about the shape of your classroom. So for me, I have a lab. You can have carpets, you can be sitting students in rows, you can be thinking about, whether you're going to have a horseshoe shape or whether you're going to be sitting students in groups. This is completely up to you, and it also depends on how flexible your classroom is and how often you're able to change it, or if you're able to change it at all. So consider the time of the year. Sometimes it's easier to make those changes, whereas other times it's not. Consider whether you're changing the shape of your classroom based on the type of activity and you're training your students to do that. And also think about how often you want to be changing the shape of your classroom. So a really big one, now that you've built your confidence making the seating plans from the start of the year and you get to know your class a little bit better, is this massive one of behaviour management. And ultimately this is why seating plans are a thing. It's why as a teacher it's our responsibility. So one of the first things I will look at is who is the alpha student, and often there won't be just one, there will be just under a handful, I tend to find, in a class of 30. You want to be thinking, is it a boy or a girl, just because that can help you think about where you are going to be sitting them, who you're going to be sitting them next to, and also think about the shape of your classroom. So going back to the corners of the classroom, can you be sitting an alpha student in those corners? Should you be sitting them near the door? Where are the windows in the room? How distractive can that learning environment be for that student? How attention seeking might they be? And consider the noise that student is getting. So I tend to start by placing those students where I want them to be before any other student. Then I'll look at the role model students and think, well, how many in this class do I have? Where am I going to sit them? What sort of gender are they? And what sort of friendship groups are they? So do I want to be putting them with other students to role model good behaviour? After I've done the alpha student and role model students, I will then go on to my special educational needs students. So here I'll be thinking about making informed decisions based on theory, and predominantly I'm dealing with students who have ASD or ADHD, but there are also another range of special educational needs that I attend to with students. So the key question is to cater for their needs, but obviously thinking about what student are they going to be sat next to, and do they need a space for a teaching assistant or a learning support assistant to be with them. Now obviously as you get to know your class, these decisions do come a little bit easier, but if you're at a point where you have no idea what behaviour to expect of this class and you really want to be making a seating plan for behaviour management purposes, I would highly recommend that you ask for help or advice to their old teachers or any other teachers who have really good student knowledge. Something else that you can also do is do a little bit of detective work. You can look at some of the data to do with your subject, you can look at their old seating plans with their previous subject teacher, but you can also be looking at their other subjects. So for example, if I'm making a seating plan for a science lesson, I would look at their maths and English seating plans if I'm able to. It just really helps to ground those relationships and sort of see what is successful and what is not. Now, something that is incredibly interesting and slightly controversial is giving students a choice in terms of where they sit. So something that I know that some teachers trial is this concept of home groups. So they have their own seating plan, but then a teacher might say, sit in your home groups, and the students then know that that's the seating plan of their choice. Obviously it requires lots of supervision and lots of flexibility, and you need to have a real good control over the classroom. One thing I would just think about considering is, how do you manage those friendship issues? So if they are in their home groups and they're sat flexibly where they want to sit, some students will sit next to their dearest and bestest friend, and you want to be encouraging them to think about making good choices. and also about thinking what's going to happen if you have a falling out or if you get into an argument. What are we going to then do? So obviously this whole student choice is something that's hugely popular in Finland, for example, and it's something I've trialed with just one class, and I'm still yet to learn how to get the most out of that without it being having any negative impact on student progress. So with these strategies, it's really thinking about which one suits your needs and the needs of the classroom immediately. So do you have no clue about this class? Should you be looking at some information beforehand, or are you going to walk in and sit them alphabetically or by gender and then learn a little bit more about the class as you teach them and then making those informed decisions? One thing I would say is that a seating plan should never be set in stone. So a seating plan should be flexible. You should be making tweaks and notes on your current seating plan as you're teaching, and you should have the ultimate autonomy and responsibility to change students from where they are, whether that's in the lesson or at the start of the lesson, just informing a student and saying, actually today you're going to be sitting over there. I think it'll be really useful specifically for the type of activity that we're doing today. I'd love for you to work with so and so. And I think if students are aware that you're making these decisions and these choices to really help them progress and to make their learning experience better, then there can't be any defensive behaviour or any negativity from it. And there you have it. I hope that you have found this video very useful. If you do have any other top tips or advice or different ways that you see your students, please do share all of that in the comment section down below. It is very, very much appreciated. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you soon. Bye!